Loving a Salute. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and joining me from the great state of Tennessee, specifically Nashville, is Keith Allbritten with Solutions 21. Keith, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the time today.
Good morning to you. Yeah, thanks for spending some time with us on Friday. So, a little bit of background on you. Where you originally from, and what you do in the military?
Yeah, so I grew up in Murray. Went to Murray State, a little small town in Kentucky in the western end. And when I grew up, going through high school, I wanted to be a football coach and a baseball coach and a teacher. Because I love sports, and I was a good athlete, but I wasn't really big enough to be competitive. But I love the game, and what all was going on. And so I was going to do all that, going through college. My last semester of college, I'm walking through campus, very like a month or two before I graduated. I see this Air Force guy in a blue uniform, and I thought, my best friend's dad was a C-130 pilot in Vietnam and told some crazy stories. Sounds like a lot of fun. Let me go talk to this guy and see what he's got going on. And a little over a year later, I'm in the Air Force. It wasn't one of those things where I blinked my eyes and all of a sudden I'm peeling potatoes. It wasn't like that. It was a very deliberate decision, but it's been a really good one. And it was a good 30-year run. So in the military, I was a navigator. So I flew on KC-135s and C-130s for many years. Did that, went all over the world, stayed a little time in tents in the Middle East, Afghanistan, standard places that wouldn't surprise anybody. One really cool thing, I took off out of Nashville in a C-130 and went all the way around the world in 17 days. And it was, what a journey. There's a lot of water out there in the Pacific, I can tell you that. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great mission. So anyway, it was a good experience for me. My son is actually, he did about 6.5 years in, right there where I was serving in Nashville. Yeah. And so I recommend it to him. It was a good experience for me. It was a really good thing. It was what I was destined to be, I feel like. So
that's awesome, man. And number one, thank you for your service. Thank you for your son's service to our nation. Obviously, without you guys doing that, we couldn't do this. So Solutions 21. So I've met Buddy. I know Rob Sloan. You got some great teammates there. Why did you choose to, first of all, what is Solutions 21 and why did you choose to go work for them?
Yeah, so I'm a coach and a leadership consultant with Solutions 21. It's an international consulting firm, specializes in partners with companies that are working on leadership development, strategic planning, and then team enablement. And the good thing about Solutions 21 is they have an amazing team of professionals. There's military executive leaders, there's doctorates, there's NFL football players, there's special operations soldiers. And one of the guys, he has a saying that I really love. This guy with this saying, he was a Delta Force commander. So there's some really high-speed guys on this team. And he uses a quote, "You'll never work so hard to be average on this team." And I thought, man, that is exactly right, because he's on the elite team, and it's a great thing that I'm privileged to be a part of. So, that's awesome. Kind of what we do. So leadership coaching, individual one-on-one, do workshops, special projects, things like that.
No doubt, what you're doing. It's funny because people were asking me when I was getting out, and I did American Corporate Partners, I did 4 Block and a couple other nonprofit transition courses. And they were good for introspection, like, what is your why? Why do you do? And I tell you, I went back to the whole, my goal has always been to make people and organizations better versions of themselves, to include myself. And why would that not change? And obviously, you've taken that journey through the military into the corporate world. But for the group, if I'm an executive with a mid to large size company, why would I want somebody like Solutions 21 to come in and to partner with me?
Yeah. So, really, I would go back to the team that I talked about a minute ago. That's part of the answer. Another part of the answer, I think, is we're all running really hard in business, and we don't have time a lot of times to focus on some of these things, and that's why we call in consultants. That's why we call in different kinds of people. That's why we hire things out. Like for me, I don't know how to put a roof on my house. I could. And I could stop and take the time and figure that out, or I could just bring somebody in that's an expert in it, and they're probably going to do it a whole lot better than me. They've got more time on it. They can focus on that one thing instead of me being focused elsewhere. I don't think it's that you can't do it. It's just that there's a lot going on, and we don't always have the extra bandwidth, And so we bring in people that are really good at it, really skilled. with a lot of integrity. So
no, that's great. And it's funny. Rob Sloan and I've talked, and Buddy and I talked a couple times.
Rob and Buddy are both great guys. Love
Yeah,
those guys.
both phenomenal Americans. Is the fact that
yes.
it's cheaper and better to bring on a team of professionals to give you that. I call it the backwards looking mirror to go, hey, how do you see your organization? How do you want to make it better? And we can help you move it forward. Vice trying to hire a team. It's much cheaper to bring on a group of professionals to do that. Oh, by the way, proven in their capability to do that. And you get, in my opinion, and watching this happen with some friends with their companies who brought on some folks to help coach them, mentor them, is that you get both tangible and intangible return on investment. You get better production, higher morale, less employee turnover from a tangible perspective. And from an intangible perspective, the dependency factor, growth for leadership within the organization is exponential. And I'm sure you've seen that with clients that you've been working with.
I have. And I'll tell you what's interesting too is, people, sometimes we're too close to the forest to see the trees. We're so embedded in the organization, and we're so used to seeing things. It's like 3 or 4 boxes that have been in your garage from moving day, 5 years ago. You walk by them every day, but then you bring a friend into the garage and he looks over and says, hey, what are those boxes doing there? Oh, this is some stuff I need to take to the Goodwill. Well, how long have they been there? Well, about 5 years. Well, what are you doing? I mean, let's recapture this room. Let's do something. But so an outside look can really bring a fresh perspective that sometimes we just can't see.
Yeah.
And I was doing a workshop yesterday, and this guy said something really powerful. And he said, what's outside the box to you is inside the box to me. And we were talking about diversity and diversity of thought. And, diversity, not just what you can see, but it's a lot of other things. And when he said that, I thought, wow, that's really powerful, because the solutions that I can't see, somebody else is going to be able to walk in and see, whether it's an outside consultant or, something like that. But a fresh perspective can really bring new life into what you're trying to do and really kind of drive things. Because as the leader, you're working on things and you got a lot of things going. I used to have this image in my head, and I would tell people, hey, go get in that canoe and row across this little creek right here. And then I would look at something else for a little while, and I'd turn my head back to these guys, and they're about 15 feet off the edge of the bank, and they're smoking and joking. And I'm thinking, man, why are you guys smoking and joking? You need to get rowing, get busy. Okay. And so they get busy and they roll a little more. And so we have our attention very divided. And so the good thing about what we do is we get to come in and focus on that thing with your objectives. We do a lot of due diligence leading into that. And then we work on the things that they want to get done. And so I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. So
is there like 2 or 3 things, if you were talking to the C-suite, if you will, for like say a mid-size or larger company, that are the 2 or 3 things that are common that you see that they should have in consideration as a company owner for sustainment?
Great question. So generational challenges. Okay. Older workforce versus younger workforce. There's a lot of generational challenges because we do things dramatically different. So we think about what does that look like and how can we bring those two closer together? And a piece of that is the knowledge transfer part, because you think about the older generation is moving on, the younger, how do I get the knowledge out of their head and down into the younger generation's head, and teaching them, getting them closer together so that they can do those things. We talk also a lot about personality differences, and the great example I always think of is if you're a details person and I go to you and I delegate a task to you, but I don't give you the details, it's just going to slow things down. So if I can start off from the get-go, give you the details, here's the task, you can run with scissors, as they say. Okay. If I show up and I don't give that to you, you're going to wait about a couple of days and you're going to call me and say, hey, I need some details on this thing because I'm not sure where to start. Now, on the other hand, if you're not a details person, I don't need to walk in with the details in my hand and say, hey, I got these details here. Let me read them to you. Okay. And then I go through the 19 items that I want you to consider. Your eyes are rolling in the back of your head. And so we need to consider those things as we deal with different people, because, we want to treat everyone the same. And that's absolutely true. But everybody's a little different in the way, how they think and how they operate and how they communicate. So how can we meet them where they are so that they can perform to the fullest? Because I think about, if you just tell people what to do and you order people around, you'll get compliance.
Yeah.
But if I get them engaged, and I get them, really into what we're doing, then I get a whole nother level of performance, which is dramatically different, dramatically higher. It can make a huge difference in performance levels. So these are some of the things we talk about leading into that. So great question.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks for that feedback. I've heard that too, and I've heard succession planning, especially between the generations. Rob was gracious enough to give me a copy of the Leadership Decade, which I read over a weekend, and you're like, these 5 different generations and the misperceptions, inaccurate perceptions between each other, right? And that matters to a business owner. And I love what you said about, sometimes you're so busy looking down and in that you can't look up and out or across with an organization. And I had a conversation with somebody, and they're a Fortune 500 company, and they had a social event, and the C-suite, it's all great, it looks good, everybody knows what's going on, and then we had a workshop at kind of the mid-level, and it was like, we're confused, what do we mean by that? Is this really the direction? And you have somebody comes in and goes, hey, I'm not sure we're communicating accurate, is this what you really meant? Yes or no? No, we meant it this way, and then it kind of closes the gaps and the performance goes up.
And I think that's very true, that it's not that, people in companies can't do these things. It's just there's only a limited amount of bandwidth. And, many of us can do a lot of these things, but do we have the bandwidth to stop what we're doing here? Because when I say yes to this, I'm saying no to a lot of other things that I could be doing. And that's a really big, powerful question. And so I can say yes to this, but it means no to all the other things I was doing in that amount of time before I decided to do this thing. And so it can sometimes be a bandwidth issue. But again, that's only part of it. I'd point back to our team, just the team and the way we do things. It's not transactional at all. That's what I love about it, is we get to know people and we get involved with people. And that's one of the things we talk about, is it cannot be transactional, because when it is, it's not good. It's not where it needs to be. And so we focus on not being that. So.
Well, hey, Keith, how do folks find Solutions 21?
Well, solutions21.com. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. It's out there as well. A lot of information out there, a lot of things going on. So it's a really good website, a lot of good stuff out there. Some bios on the team, kind of some of the things we do. Solutions21.com. So
no, I appreciate it. And I'm a subscriber to the newsletter, so I read it. And,
awesome.
I'll be honest with you, though I have friends that work for Solutions 21, I get the, Harvard Business Review, I get their newsletter too, the electronic newsletter. It's just as good, in my opinion. I mean, the quality of the information you guys are pushing is succinct, it's to the point, and it's very relevant, as a business leader. Regardless of what, in a profit or nonprofit space. So, hey, thanks for that. We're going to take the show's take your contact information, put it in our show notes so our audience can look up Solutions 21 and look up you, Keith, and connect with both of us on LinkedIn. So thanks for your service to the nation, and thanks for what you're doing to make our nation, our companies that run our nation, a better version of themselves, so we can continue to be the #1 nation in the world.
Hear, hear. I appreciate the time today, Chris. I was talking with Rob a few days ago, and he said, Chris is a good dude. And so, that Rob gives you high marks, and I love what you're doing. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think a lot about Rob. And again, the team there at Solutions 21, very powerful. Keep up doing what you guys are doing. And we'd love to have you guys back on in the spring to continue to talk about where you're at and where you guys are going and how you can really make companies better. So.
That'd be great, because I'm actually in the process of writing a book, so I'd love to come back on and talk about that.
Let's do that.
I hope to have it out sometimes early May or June.
100%. Let's do that too.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd appreciate that. That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, hey, folks, if you don't like that, I don't know what's going on with you. So you got a morale problem. I probably need to call Solutions 21. Connect with Keith and myself on LinkedIn. Take a look at Solutions 21. Great organization. Get on the newsletter. Even if you're not going to use their services, their newsletter will make you a better leader within your organization, your company, whatever you do. We'll see you in our next segment and live with gratitude.